welcome back to the channel. So it's been a while since I've recorded a video, but I really wanted to restart, and so here I am. I thought I'd start off with something, easy to just kind of ease me back into making videos. So I thought I'd start with talking about my favorite TV shows of 2020. Now, 2020 was a standout year for me in terms of watching TV shows, and I've narrowed it down to five. So here we go. First one I want to mention though is a runner-up. It didn't quite make it to my favorites, but it was still worth mentioning, so I created a little runner-up category. And that is It's Okay Not to Be Okay, which is a Korean drama on Netflix. It's about a children's book author who has antisocial personality disorder, and I forgot what he is. I think he's a nurse, and they kind of meet up together. It's a romance, and they kind of help each other heal their emotional wounds and figure out their past and things like that. And I freaking love this show. It has its problems. The story gets kind of boring in the second half, but the two characters really sell it. You cannot have a Korean drama without a very good romance, especially a romantic Korean drama. If I don't believe in the couple, it's almost not even worth watching. And this couple really stands out. The acting was so believable, and the chemistry between the two characters is amazing. And in addition to that, there's just a lot of talk and commentary on mental health, and how to figure out where you are with a traumatic when you've had a traumatic past to deal with. So highly recommend this one. Also, a lot of the gender tropes in Korean dramas are kind of flipped on its side, and I really appreciated that as well. So definitely check out this one. And now, going into my favorites. The first two I'm going to talk about are returning TV shows that I've seen in past years, but they've had new seasons come out in 2020. So the first one is Schitt's Creek. Season 6 came out this year, and I'm so sad the show is over. It ended in a really good way, I think, where the characters still have sort of more to grow, but they kept their core, their emotional core, which I really like. And honestly, Schitt's Creek has turned out to be one of the funniest and heartwarming TV shows that stand out from other 20-minute sitcoms. It had its own brand of wholesome humor that had a little bit of edge to it too. So I completely love the show. I will be rewatching this in future years as well. And my other returning favorite TV show is Sex Education, and season 2 came out this year. I'm gonna say this about all the shows, but I freaking love this show. It's coming of age dramedy, all revolving around sex. But it's a show that's as entertaining as it is informative and comforting. And it displays sex as a topic in a realistic way to teenagers. It doesn't glorify sex, but it also doesn't vilify sex as well. It sees sex, as something messy and complicated, and there's all different kinds of aspects to it. You know, it touches upon topics like masturbation, um, pain during intercourse, and things like that. It does it in such a funny and unique way, while also having a great story behind its characters, and it's a great show. And season 2 really builds upon the drama and the angst of season 1. It's definitely a lot more plot heavy in season 2, but that it kind of still wraps all of its topics and themes together while consequently developing its characters' arcs is just amazing. And I love Otis and Maeve. I love them so much. I love them so much together, and I also really love Eric too. Um, so I am really excited to see where season 3 kicks off. So those are the two remaining returning ones. Now, the rest of the TV shows are ones that I started in 2021 and finished in 2021. And the first one is The Wire. But it's something that I felt like I had to be in the right mood to watch it. And apparently, the right mood to watch was during quarantine of last year. Um, so there's that. Um, and I am so happy that I watched it. It's a phenomenal show. It's one of the best shows, best um, technically written shows that I've ever seen in my life. Really, um, it's essentially about a the Boston, I think, Boston Police Department, and it follows them as they kind of solve the mystery of this gang in Boston, um, and trying to figure out how they are selling drugs. And it doesn't follow the characters in the police department; it also follows the people out in the streets as well. And you see the word realistic TV show getting tossed around a lot as compliment, but no one does realism better than The Wire. So, for example, when someone gets killed in the show, it's nothing, it's not portrayed as something extremely significant or big. And it's not stylized with music in the background or anything like that. It just kind of happens. And I really appreciate this sort of style that The Wire had going on throughout all of its seasons because it's very real to real life. Sometimes in real life, when someone dies, life unfortunately goes on, and sadly, the realities of being in the street in this show is a very cruel, cruel world, and you know, after someone dies, someone's there to replace them, and life goes on, and it kind of demonstrates like the cruelty and injustice of the system. And one thing this show also portrays very well is power and privilege. No one in the police department or on the street is black and white, but they're all portrayed as incredibly human. And I really appreciate how this thread of power and privilege continues to weave its way through the seasons, and it continues to escalate and escalate until it reaches its crescendo. And honestly, an amazing show. The writing is splendid, the characters are wonderful. It's a dark show, and you kind of need, it's a dark show, and it's heartbreaking, but it's so worth it. and it just reveals this kind of underbelly of the corruption of our justice system. And in the later season, it talks about the corruption of our school systems and how it fails our most vulnerable members. So, my favorite seasons of The Wire are seasons 3 and 4, um, because the story kind of reaches its climax in these seasons, and I just love it. Season 5 was definitely the weakest, but it was still pretty good. But season 3 and 4, chef's kiss, so good. So yes, there's The Wire. The second one that I started and finished in 2020 was BoJack Horseman. BoJack Horseman is a show I didn't think I would like. And that's because it's kind of stylized in this adult animation comedy that I usually don't like, such as like The Simpsons, South Park, Big Mouth. I tend to not like that style of comedy, but I had heard such great things about BoJack Horseman, and I just wanted to try it out. And I've in the past I've actually tried this show twice before, and I didn't like it. But I thought I'd try it a third time, and if I didn't like it, then I would just quit on the show forever. And I'm so glad I gave it another chance, because it ended up being one of my favorite TV shows of 2020. The way that BoJack Horseman kind of extends the boundaries of animation and animated storytelling is on another level. If you've seen BoJack Horseman and you've seen the Dementia episode, I've never cared about a horse more. That's all I'm saying. And it starts off as kind of just a comedy on, life in Hollywood, because BoJack Horseman is an actor, and because he was in a popular TV show in the past, he hasn't regained that sort of fame again, and so he keeps trying to relive the past. And as the show goes on, it's more about him trying to deal with his abusive past, and how to come to terms with his mental illness and things like that. And oh boy, BoJack Horseman is the best anti-hero that I have ever seen written. You kind of vacillate between feeling so much sympathy for him, and when he does get better, you're so excited because he's getting better, but then he falls, and you get so mad at him, and then he comes up again, you feel happy, and it's just a roller coaster. And the way that it portrays mental illness and death and grief is unlike anything I've ever seen done, because it mixes in death and grief combined with the conflicting emotions of having an abusive past, and how is someone supposed to confront that past, and move on from there. And it's heartbreaking. The other characters are just as great. There's Diana, who's his ghostwriter, and there's a dog named Mr. Peanut Butter. They have incredible stories as well. And BoJack Horseman turned out to be a lot more than it seemed on the surface, and its structure gives such a unique perspective on depression and, again, mental illness and things like that. And there's a reason why this show has had so many awards. It's a great show. And again, seasons 3 and 4 are the best. Season 1 was a little boring because it was just kind of on the cusp of trying to build up its story, and it was more a comedy than anything. But when I went to season 3 and 4, that's when I was like, oh, I see why so many people love this show. Seasons 5 and 6 were not as good either. Um, but it was still amazing. So yeah, BoJack Horseman. And then the last show I want to talk about is Pen 15. This is a show on Hulu, and it's about these two middle schoolers who you follow these two middle schoolers as they kind of go about school and life. It's a coming of age comedy, and but the unique thing about this show is that it's played the two actresses that play the main characters. They're supposed to be in middle school, but they're actually played by 30-year-old actresses. But it sounds weird, but the actresses are really actually made to look like middle schoolers. So it's just really funny. And again, the term realistic TV show is thrown around a lot. But I really feel like Pen 15 really nailed the realism of being in middle school. Like, for example, one of the main characters wears braces, and the clothes that they wear and like the backpacks that they have and everything are uh, so distinguishable from middle school that it kind of makes you laugh and cringe at the same time. Um, but the show is also written so well. The dialogue, especially, it's very a lot of dialogue for like young teen movies. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it's actually like teenagers talking or preteens talking, but this one really feels like someone who went through it wrote it. And the situations that they get in, like finding out who's people's crushes and things like that, is like the way it's talked about is done so realistically that it just makes the show shine even more. Um, so there's two seasons to the show, and I am desperately waiting for the second part of season 2. So those are my favorite TV shows of 2020.